The NBA's trade cycle never really ends, even if the trade deadline just recently passed. Sometimes you can see a story brewing for quite a bit of time before it finally blows over and action starts to come into place. And while we didn't see many big names moved at this year's trade deadline, we definitely didn't have a shortage of rumors and inclinations of what could be coming in the near future. In today's video, we'll be discussing the 4 star players in particular that I believe will be the next ones to end up requesting a trade and forcing their teams to move them. These are all-star caliber players that, for a variety of reasons, are in situations that may go downhill fast. And with that, combined with the rumblings already being out there of them looking to find greener pastures in their future, they find themselves in today's video. Before we start though, it turns out a good amount of you watching right now aren't even subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, as not only does it help out a ton, but I'd also very much appreciate it. Now with that being said, let's begin. The first star player I believe is next in line to force his way into a trade is Trey Young of the Atlanta Hawks. With Trey Young, this is a situation where we've been seeing some smoke coming out of the Hawks locker room for a while now, and where there's smoke, there's typically some fire. Trey has butted heads with coaches in the past, his demeanor has rubbed some people the wrong way, and the Hawks as a whole have been progressively trending in the wrong direction, sinking lower and lower ever since their 2021 run to the conference finals. The Hawks have made moves to try to get a team capable of competing around Trey Young, and the trade they made for DeJounte Murray a few years ago specifically comes to mind, but it just hasn't worked out. And with Trey Young producing at a level very few are even capable of replicating, it's hard not to get the feeling that eventually he's going to want all that work to be for something more significant. He's a 27 point per game scorer who ranks second in the NBA in assists per game, with the Hawks sitting in just 10th place in the Eastern Conference, with more teams passing them by every season. Young still has 3 more years on his contract after this season as well, so if a change of scenery is going to happen, it's going to have to be via a trade, and if or when his patience runs thin, a trade request would probably be in the best interest of him and the franchise, who at the moment don't have very many realistic avenues to get themselves to that next level. The San Antonio Spurs have been reported to be very interested in Trey Young as the point guard they want to pair with rising superstar Victor Wembanyama, which would be a match made in heaven. Since Trey's playmaking skills working with Victor Wembanyama's size, mobility, and length in the pick and roll would be lethal, and even the Lakers could look to make an all-in move if their season ends in disappointment this year. The next star player I believe could be in line to force a trade, may be a bit of a surprising one, but it's LeBron James of the Los Angeles Lakers. Hear me out on this. LeBron James has never been traded at any point in his career, and LeBron is not ever going to be traded without being heavily involved in the situation. But that's exactly where my theory begins. The Lakers, for a second consecutive season, are at the All-Star break in a position well below where they expected to be in the standings. Last season, the team made a bevy of drastic moves to retool the roster around LeBron and Anthony Davis, and it worked out as they went on a run down the stretch and made it all the way to the conference finals. This year, the team is in a similar position, seeming to be locked into a spot in the play-in tournament, but this time they stayed put at the deadline, so they're running with what they've got for the rest of the year. They have been performing better as of late, so all hope is definitely not lost, but the odds are definitely still stacked against them to make another deep run. And if there's one thing that's for sure about LeBron James, it's that he doesn't want to waste any season, especially the final few seasons of his career. The Lakers have exhausted a lot of their available assets that they could have used to improve the team, and LeBron himself hasn't exactly hidden his feelings about the state of the team, giving passive-aggressive answers in interviews and posting cryptic messages on social media. This summer, he has a player option that he could opt into for 1 more year in LA, but with that being the case, he could also opt into it while simultaneously looking for a sign-and-trade situation to do right by the Lakers. If there's a chance for LeBron to vie for 1 more championship, he's going to explore that option, and with him avoiding the topic of committing to the Lakers past this year, it's not completely off the table. The next star player that could be next in line to force a trade is Donovan Mitchell of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Right now, the Cavaliers are red hot, and winning does tend to solve everything, but we can't just ignore the fact that Mitchell has never really settled into Cleveland since he's gotten there from the Jazz, and his name has constantly popped up in more trade rumors since his arrival. If the Cavaliers continue winning at this level and legitimately vie for a championship this year, then things will definitely change. But last season, the Cavaliers had a big breakout year that got halted fast in the first round of the playoffs, and if the team has a similar turnout in this postseason, then Mitchell's name is only going to continue to heat up on the rumor mill. Hell, even just a few days ago, reports came out from reporters at Sports Illustrated and The Ringer saying that Mitchell is not likely to commit to a contract extension with the Cavaliers because he only has 1 year left on his current contract and is going to want to explore free agency in the summer of 2025, not only to maximize his potential earnings, but also to finally be able to go to the team that he actually desires. This then puts the Cavaliers in a really difficult position, because if the team falls short in the playoffs yet again, then Mitchell will be on an expiring contract going into next year, and that's always a dangerous game to play with an unhappy star player. Trading Mitchell could end up being what's best for the interest of the team as well at that point, and with teams like the Knicks, Heat, Nets, and 76ers lurking in the shadows, they could pounce if a trade request is submitted. And finally, the last star player that I believe may be next in line to force a trade is Zach LaVine of the Chicago Bulls. Of all of the inclusions in today's video, LaVine is probably the most obvious of all. He was on track to be moved at this year's trade deadline, but then injuries got in the way of that, as he chose to get season-ending foot surgery, and obviously teams are a lot less likely to trade for someone under those circumstances. The Chicago Bulls are one of the most stubborn teams that are simultaneously stuck in the middle of the pack, but on top of that, the team also started playing a lot better after Zach LaVine went down with his injury, so regardless of what their future holds, it seems to be best to move on from him. LaVine is still a very talented scorer that can ignite an offense, but his best days may be behind him, and he's also not realistically good enough to be the go-to #1 option on a serious playoff team, so as long as he is a Bull, their ceiling will be limited. On the trade market, there will be teams in need of a scoring boost that could use him as a second or third option, which is much more suited for, but because the timetable for his recovery of the surgery is about 4 to 6 months, teams will have to be patient and do their due diligence before these conversations can resume. LaVine's max contract isn't exactly going to thrill potential suitors, especially with his health now being a question, but it's at the point where the Bulls know their partnership isn't working, and the price of LaVine on the open market shouldn't be as hefty as it once was. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below who you think might force their way out in the near future. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.